ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Verse 61. प्राक्पश्चादस्ति कुम्भाद् गगनमिदम् इति प्रत्यये सत्यपीदम् कुम्भोत्पत्तावुदेति प्रलयमुपगते नश्यतीत्यन्यदेशम् नीते कुम्भे साकं व्रजति भजति वा तत्प्रमाणानुकारौ इत्थं मिथ्या प्रतीतिः स्फुरति तनुभृतां विश्वतस्तद्वदात्मा. Very nice verse. And that which immediately makes sense. Can relate to this verse very, very effortlessly. Very, very wonderful. And it, we can relate to it because it starts with our trusty pot. Trustworthy pot. Can never go wrong with pot. Because that is the staple diet for all Vedantins, That's like the mother's milk of Vedanta in terms of examples. That is what all Vedantins are raised on. Rope, snake, pot, clay. And then, what is that? Slightly, what is that? Some mashed up first solid food, pot, space, toddler food. And where all the like fruits and vegetables and all you mash up and then you give, that is pot space. So it's a very comforting example because it it is safe and it reminds one of the good old days of pot space and pot and clay, etc. So it's a very safe and an easy example. So let us see what the verse says. Kumbhat Prak. Wonderful use of the fifth case. Kumbhat, before, and see, let's not forget the fifth case is not just from, it also, deals with before, time wise. So, Kumbhat Prak, before the pot, and we have to add the word existence. Before the existence of pot, and then Kumbhat Paschat, after the pot. Before the pot, and then what? After the pot. So we have to add before the existence of this thing called pot, and after the existence of thing called pot, something is there. What is there? Of course, the first answer is clay. But I told you this is semi-solid food, so don't go there. So gaganam idam, this gagana space. Gaganam idam, this space. That is why is it called this space? Because it's easily available. How is it available? You just go like this, there is space. There is space here, there is space there is space in between the fingers. It's right here. It can be invoked by the term idam because it is very much available sometimes, and also it is called idam because that space is very much available inside the head when nothing is understood. So idam gaganam, gaganam idam gaganam, iti pratyaye. Iti pratyaya. What is the pratyaya? Cognition. What is the cognition? That this space that is available right here, and also, when you're hungry, the space is there in the stomach. The stomach growls to greet the space. Okay, so there is space in the stomach. There is space in the head. When you don't understand something, or when you're spaced out, that's what it means. The space has gone inside the head. And then, when you're walking, or you do some hand movements and the knuckles crack. Why do they crack? Because there is space in between the joints, and that space makes itself known by sound. This is how it is in the universe. That's why Lord Dakshinamurti is carrying a damaru in his upper right hand. Damaru is some kind of a small Indian handheld drum. And what is that drum? The drum signifies space. Because there is space, there is sound. And so here, space, you can't ask where it exists. That's why it's called idam. It is everywhere. In between two books, there is space where you have kept two books. There is space. And in between people, there is space. In between the pieces of furniture, there is space. In between two walls, there is space. In between two rooms, there is space. Inside one room, there is space. And we call it what? Bathroom space. Small space. Closet space. Bathroom space. Living room space. Dining room space. And nowadays, it's the fashion to have open plans. And everybody is eager about these open plans, meaning you open the door and you can see into the entrails of the house. From the beginning to the end, you can see no walls. And in the beginning, the person is happy because one is feeling confined. Then they understand that they have to keep the house pick and span at all times, except during the pandemic, because nobody comes. So there is a little break. You can live like a slob. So this open what? Space. More space. It feels like there is more space. And the other way of making sure that there is space is you vault the ceilings. You make the ceilings a little high. That is also space. And then the house somehow looks roomier. And so those homes that have these vaulted ceilings, of course they'll be more expensive because space costs money. You pay for the space. By the square foot, you pay for the space because you really don't own anything else. You kind of own the space within your house, and that costs money. Okay, yeah. So this is so funny. This space is so arbitrary. The more we think about it, the more there is to talk about. And at the same time, there is nothing to talk about. Really, it's a very, very funny concept, this space. And then also, sometimes, like there is a sense of personal space, meaning where I end, I need some kind of a comfortable distance between myself and another body, namely you. That is called personal space. And the concept of personal space is very arbitrary because in places such as, America, the personal space is huge. So you'll go to the airport and then you want to sit, you're waiting for your connection or you're waiting for your flight and you want to sit down. Where? By the gate, of course. What do you see people doing? They will put one bag on this side of they sit in one seat, and the others they'll choose an empty row, and then they'll put one bag on this side so that nobody sits, and another bag on another side so that nobody sits. This is my concept of space. What do I need? An entire couch. I make that airplane seat into a couch. And In India, it's the opposite. People will get very annoyed if you start putting your, your kit bag and your handheld whatever luggage there. First of all, it is unhygienic because it's on the floor before, and then you see somebody coming and quickly you put this there. People will get very annoyed because there is not much space. This is the idea of personal space has to shrink vis-a-vis the population. The idea of personal space has to become very tiny. And not only that, so many times I've encountered this because the seats by the gate are quite big, quite large and generous. And then usually, the mother will come and then, they will stick two toddlers right where I'm sitting. There is space for all three of us. And then after they sit down, squirming, all of them nicely, then the mother will say, "Do you mind?" And of course, you have to say, "No, let them be there. How can you mind? They're so cute. So let them sit. It's okay." And then, of course, the question is, do you have chocolates in your bag? That's the question. What do you have in your bag? Do you have something to eat? So, this is India. Very, very different. Here we have to be much more mindful of what, and people are often not, but one is trained to be much more mindful of other people's rights and other people's existence, meaning the need for other people's space. So the personal space is just a very tiny, shrunk. As long as there's not more than two people upon you, then that should be your personal space. If there is more than two, you can protest. What are you doing? I exist too. You can put a protest. But otherwise, just you allow it to be. Thank God. Otherwise, because see, India has survived and is thriving because we have the concept of karma. We have somehow Vedanta just kind of going inside, wafting in the air. Even though you may not know all the shastras and the name of works like Satasloki, you may not know all that. The details, the finer details don't matter. But there is Vedanta and there is the concept of karma that is very, very, very strong. There is the concept of karma. So if someone violates your space, you get angry, you may get into a verbal altercation with them. But then you back off, you say, okay, this was some kind of a karmic attack today. So karma sneaked up on me, encroached my personal space, because that's what karma does. And and one is okay with that. So space is something so arbitrary. And same thing, the size of the houses also. This is also again, that also is a reflection of the need for personal space. Huge houses in America, huge. I was staying in one of them to give a talk in some doctor's house somewhere in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. And then there, I was supposed to give the talk the next morning, and I was very tired. By the time I arrived there, it was midnight. So I was just escorted to my room via one staircase. That's all I remember. And she said something, there is an intercom. I was like, why do they need? I know it's a big house, it looked big. Why do they need an intercom? And then the next morning, no matter where I went out of my room, it was just opening into more and more rooms and more, what are they called? Suites, little living room, little kitchenette, one bedroom, this side, that. Where to go? Then finally I remembered she said something about intercom. I could not even find the way back to the room that I had slept in. So in every room, thankfully, there was this, white courtesy telephone. Okay, and so I picked that up and I said, "Help." And they said, "Do you know where you are?" I said, "No, I have no idea where I am, but it's a blue room with everything blue. Blue, couch, blue walls, blue curtains." Then they understood. So then they sent somebody to escort me downstairs. And I barely made it to the top because I was just wandering around. And so, so this is America. So the concept of space is very, very, it's just like, you have to build big, you have to have lots of space. You have to pay for that space, you have to own that space. And then because of that space, you are secure, because there is some kind of a strange connection between space and security. If there is no space, one is insecure, one feels prevailed upon. And so, in India, or, just to give you a contrast, one newspaper you pay for in the airport again, and then at least four people are reading it. You are reading it, the person next to you is reading it, and the people from the back seat, two of them are also reading it. And then you get into a discussion also. And the person with who has paid for the newspaper doesn't feel like, oh, it is my newspaper. You cannot. You cannot. It belongs to everybody. It's like common property. And since the concept of personal space is very, very, very finite, limited, then, three, four people can say easily read the newspaper. This is just a contrast. Even in Europe, it's not like this. It's not like America. There also the concept of, so people are very mindful, and so that is so this is the idea of space. And space is, what is space? Let us look at what is space. It's nothing, literally. It's nothing. It's everything. It is everywhere. And it is really nothing. It's one of the five elements, if we look at it. तस्माद्वा एतस्माद् आत्मन आकाशः सम्भूतः. From this Atma, from this I, says the Taittiriya Upanishad, the Akasha was, as it were, born. Space is a projection. It's a projection of the I. Who is this I? Bhagavan. This Atma is nothing but Brahmatma, which is Paramatma, which is Jagat Karanam Brahma. It is Brahman in the form of the cause of the universe. It is Paramatma. This I is Paramatma. What about Jivatma? That word shouldn't even exist unless one is, broadcasting one's own ignorance. There is no such thing called Jivatma. There is only Atma, which happens to be Paramatma, which happens to be the only thing there is, which in association with Maya Shakti is the cause of the universe. Oh, but I don't have Maya Shakti. You also have Maya Shakti. What is my Maya Shakti? To think of space as real and to think of space as defining who you are. That is your prowess. Ajnana. Ajnana avachinna chaitanya. This consciousness that obtains in this body mind sense complex, that dwells, as it were, in this body mind sense complex. Avritam, ajnanena avritam jnanam, Bhagavad Gita says, tena muhyati jantavaha. Jantavaha means creatures. Very rarely the Vedanta uses the word creatures, including human beings. But here it's used for human beings too. How do we know? Because other creatures are not going to be reading the Bhagavad Gita. That's why. It's addressed to you. You are the creature. Tena muhyati jantavaha. Muhyati means this is how the people are deluded. This is why the people are deluded. This is how the people are deluded. Delusion is a prasada of ajnanam. This is why the people are deluded. This is how the people are deluded. Tena muhyanti jantavaha. And so this delusion comes at a cost. And what is the cost of this delusion? The cost of this delusion is, I'm just plugging in the mic because I forgot to do that. Okay, yeah, now you should hear me better. So the cost of this delusion is very, very high. That is the difference between being free and being caught up in the bondage. And what is this bondage? The notion that I am separate from everything else and everybody else. How is this notion, may I ask, sustained? What is the basis for this notion to be sustained? I am separate from you. I am separate from this, from that, from everything. What is the basis? The answer is space. Ah, because it takes space to be real. That which separates me from everything else is space. And that space, therefore, is a very, very important aspect of mithya that has to be taken down. And that's what is being accomplished in this verse. So, what is the separating factor between you and somebody else? Space. You see, the where the eye ends is at the extremities, fingers and toes. That's where. I finishes here. I, not I, not I, not I, not I, even in between the fingers. Not I, not I, not I, not I, not I, not I. So strange, so arbitrary. So the knowledge of myself literally is skin deep. Where the skin ends, I end. Where the skin begins, I begin. Where the sense of touch finishes, like this whole body is pervaded by the sense of touch, and that I-ness and the kind of personhood and personal space is incumbent upon the sense of touch. See how intricate, how all this is intricately woven together, how involved this is. So interesting. So, Gaganamidam, this space pervades me inside too, but I'm not so bothered about inside because inside I'm able to see it as me. My body, my stomach growling and making certain noises before lunch. All these things, I can see it as me. Okay, I feel spaced out today, my head is spacey. Okay, that is also me. But then the outside space is taken as real. That's why in a relationship you say, I need more space. In other words, it's a precursor to saying, get out of my life. First, you sit on the end of the couch or you sit on some other, place. And then what? Bye bye. That's what it is. And so, this whole misunderstanding of space is very much up front and center in the manifestation, in the daily manifestation of ajnanam, in the daily eclipsing of myself from my own nature. This is the problem. Not understanding that space, like all the five elements, is a manifestation and as though manifestation of Bhagavan, and I ultimately am non separate from that Bhagavan. This is where one has to go. This is what needs to be understood. This is what needs to be understood. This is where the change lies. Otherwise, what happens? One takes the space to be real. And the example of taking the space to be real is given through our trustee pot example. Very trusted pot. So, prak kumbhat. Kumbhat prak. Before the pot, and we have to add a line, a phrase, came into existence. Kumbhat prak. Before the pot came into existence, and kumbhat paschat. And after the pot, then we have to add one more phrase, was destroyed. Before the pot came into existence, kumbhat prak, prak kumbhat, and then Kumbhat Paschat. After the pot was dropped and therefore destroyed. Fell from a height, was dropped from a height, and then what happened to it? Pieces. Now all that exists of the pot is small, small shards of baked clay. So then asti. What asti? Asti means is. What asti? Gaganamidam. This space was there before this object called pot came into existence and before the object called pot went out of existence. So, suppose there is a pot. And then what do you do? What do you see? You see that there is space surrounding the pot. You see that there is space separating the pot from something that it is put next to. Another pot, perhaps. You see that there is space between pot A and pot B. And then what do you see when you look inside the pot? Inside the pot also there is space. And what is the pot inside? What is the space inside the pot called? It has a naming ceremony, namakarana. And what is that namakarana? Pot space. Yay, yippee! Pot space is born. Oh, really? Let us distribute laddus, sweets to everybody. Pot space is born. Yippee! When was the pot space born? Pot space was born as soon as the Kumbhakara, the potter, made the akara of the pot, and and it was thrown on the wheel. The clay was thrown on the wheel, and as the wheel was circling, a nice little space was carved out as soon as the pot was born. Only the people skilled can do this. It looks very simple. You try it, and what you will get is, I don't know what, a clay purse, because everything folds in. And then it kind of, it folds in on each other, on itself. You get a clay version of shepherd's purse. Okay, that's what you get. And some ugly looking thing, and which is of no use at all. But when the potter does it, oh, it's so nice to see. Then the pot space is born. And being a religious family, they want to draw out the horoscope of the pot, not even of the pot space. Oh, Kundali, not to be confused with Kundalini. Okay, that's different. This is Kundali, Janma Kundali, meaning, what does it look like? What does, as soon as one is born? It is also called Janma Patrika. Jataka. Jataka means whatever happens at birth. Then the ascendant of the pot space is in Leo. Oh, good! The pot space will be a leader. Fantastic! Because the star, the constellation of Leo has leadership quality, like a lion. Oh, what happened? Well, the guru in the pot space's horoscope is Nicha. Nicha means what? Nicha means, what is that? It is afflicted. The guru is in Capricorn. The debilitated. That's the astrological term. The astrological term is that the guru is debilitated. Ayo, poor pot space will never study Vedanta because the guru is debilitated. Oh no, guru in Capricorn badly aspected by other malefic planets. Oh no. Oh, wait. The Shukra is good. Shukra is in its own house. And so, therefore, what will the pot space do? Some little, hiccups will be there, but it will go to a space guru. Yeah, because the Shukra, Venus is another, Venus is like the secondary guru. So, even if the guru is afflicted in one's birth chart, we will look for the placement of the Venus. And if the Venus is well aspected, then Vedanta becomes easy. Venus is Shukracharya. very great teacher of Vedanta. Unfortunately, because of his prarabdha, he had to only teach asuras. But you can see how good a teacher he must be to teach asuras. You need a lot of patience. So this is a guru with patience. This is a guru with titiksha. You need staying power. And you need a lot of self contentment, knowing that you cannot transform anyone that you teach. You have a lot of vairagya. So this is a very superior teacher. So Shukra, Venus, is also an indication that one will come to Vedanta. Ha! The part space's horoscope is freed now. All it needs is a space guru. And the space guru will tell it what? You are not pot space, and you don't have to upturn the pot like this upside down and go like this in order to be free. You are not bound. You are the all pervasive space. That was the quote unquote the first one to come out. That was what was you. The subtlest of the subtlest, the most all pervasive of all elements, that which can be, that which can be objectified, barely objectified by only one sense organ, the ears, sound. Mostly it is objectified through witness perception, sakshi pratyaksha. Somehow you feel creepy because your personal space is encroached. You don't see anything. You just have this creepy feeling and you look, and then, yes, you didn't imagine it. Somebody is indeed following you too close for comfort. And then you have to make sure you change your, you change your pace, you walk fast. And if they are not walking fast, okay, that was just a misconception. Like this. Sakshi pratyaksha. So then, that misled space, who thought itself confined to the walls of the pot, to the sides of the pot, to the bottom of the pot, and the opening of the pot was too small and it couldn't get out. Let me out, let me out. Space Guru says, there is no in, there is no out. You know, that which is that which is in is mithya, that which is out is mithya. You are all pervasive space. You are Chaitanya. You are that consciousness. And this is not the space guru that is talking, okay? This is the Vedanta teacher talking. It's in the same manner. You are Chaitanya. You are that consciousness which is free like space, which is all pervasive, which is everywhere, and which happens to be dwelling in this body right now. And it's the same Chaitanya, same consciousness that is indwelling every other being, sentient and insentient, that you encounter. This is what it is. And so, Prag asti, Paschad asti, Kumbhat Prag, Kumbhat Paschad asti. What asti? Gaganamidam asti. This space existed before the pot and after the pot. Iti pratyaye, this cognition, satya api, satyapi idam. It should be Satyapi, I think. Yeah. There is a small error here. Satyapidam. Let me see another version and see if it is different there. Satyapidam. I'll have to look into it, what that means. So, this is the, even though this is the correct perception, this is, this is Satya. Even though this is reality. And what is the reality? That space is, even though the space seems to be in the pot and born at the time of the birth of the pot, dead at the time of the death of the pot. This is a perception. This cognition is a perception. Everybody knows this. Even though everybody knows this, still, at the level of Vyavahara, at the level of everyday life, at the level of everyday, what is it called? Practices, encounters. How does one lead the life? Kumbhat, kumbho, kumbha utpattau udeti. This is how the perception is. Kumbha utpattau, at the birth of the pot. Upon the birth of the pot, udeti. Udeti means is born, rises. What? Gaganamidam. That Gaganamidam from the first line has to be carried over. This space is born with the pot. Pralayam upagate, when the pot goes to, goes bye bye, pralaya means becomes one with clay. Pralayam upagate, when the pot attains moksha, so to speak, as far as the body, mind, sense complex goes, when the pot dies, then the space in the pot, gaganamidam, nashyati iti. Okay? Nashyati. Nashyati means the space is destroyed. When the pot is destroyed, the space is destroyed. When the pot is born, the space is born. And as though this misconception is not enough, there is one more misconception. What is that? Anyadesham nite. Nite anyadesham. When you take the pot to another place, let's say the pot was with me in the living room and I took the pot to the bedroom. Then what happens to pot space? It didn't remain in the living room. It walked along with me into the bedroom. In fact, it joined the pot. The pot went, and the pot space also went along with it. Tuk. It went from one place to another place, and the pot space happily went along with it because it cannot live without the pot. It is attached to the pot and it is obtaining within the pot, and the pot space also went to the bedroom. And then what happened? Sakam vrajati. Nite kumbhena sakam. Sakam means along with. Along with the pot. The pot space obediently goes from place to place. And especially if it is a teaching pot, then the teaching pot space travels in the suitcase of the teacher and goes from and used to go from place to place before the pandemic. Okay, and so then what? Then this is a problem now. Then not only that, vrajati bhajati. Bhajati doesn't mean, sings, the pot space doesn't sing bhajans. Vrajati moves. Bhajati, bhaja sevayam. Like in the sense of upabhoga. It submits itself. Upabhoga means it submits itself to the vagaries of the pots, the pot. If the pot goes, it goes. If the pot is stationary, it is stationary. And then tat pramana anukaro. Pramana anukari means anukaro, seventh case, pramana anukari. Pramana anukari means it goes along with. Pramana is the size here. Tat pramana anukaro means, Anandagiri's Tika says, Laghiyasi mahati cha ghate tat pramanam bhavati tatha dirghe nimne vakre va ghate tattadakaram bhajati. Bhajati here, identifies with. Laghiyasi meaning small pot. And then mahati cha ghate, then big if the pot is If the pot space says I am big pot space because the pot is big, and then the pot is small, and so the pot space says, and everyone else also thinks this is small pot space. And then not only that, dirghe, let us say it's a long vase, flower vase for one rose or something like that, long one. And then the pot space says I'm long pot space, dirgha. And then what else? Dirgha. And then one more is there, nimna, small short pot space. And then supposing there is a person who doesn't know how to make a pot, like myself, and then I have had a go at this wheel and then have made a pot that looks like this. Then that kind of a pot, vakra. Vakra means all distorted pot space. Pod space is big pod space is small pod space is long pod space is short pod space is distorted pod space is tattadakaram bhajati. It identifies with that kind of a, with whatever the size and the parimana. Here it is called pramana, the size of the pot, etc. It identifies with that kind of space. And then what happens as a result? So nothing good comes out of this identification at all. Nothing good comes at all out of this identification. Why? Now you are understanding the analogy very well. What is the part? The body mind complex. And what is the space? The all present, all pervasive Atma Chaitanya, consciousness. So the consciousness that is, as it were, obtaining in a particular body was there before the body was born, was there before the horoscope was drawn, was there before the umbilical cord was cut, and then will be there after the person goes away. Ram Nam Satya Hai. After the person goes, the Chaitanya is not gone. Chaitanya is like space, all pervasive. It is everywhere. It did not come. It did not go. It does not is not born. It does not is not die. It does not die. What is this it? The it you have to the T is silent in the it. It is actually I. It's not it. It is I. Oh, so I have to say, I am not born, I am not gone. Exactly, bingo, you got it. So clever. I am not born, I am not gone. And then, so if one is in a long body, tall body, you don't say, I am tall. If one is in a short body, you don't say, I am short. That I is free, just like pot space. How silly it looks for the pot space to say, for us to say, this is long pot space, this is fat pot space, this is short pot space, and this is distorted pot space. That is why we have a teacher in the tradition called Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra means eight distortion, eight of his limbs were all, some kind of a birth defect. And they say the birth defect happened because the baby was almost enlightened. It just had a few little karmas. That's why it took birth. So the baby was in the mother's womb. This Ashtavakra was in the mother's womb, and the mother was kind of interested in Vedanta, little bit, okay? She had, what should I say, lukewarm mumukshutvam. She had a little bit of desire to study. And then she went to a guru when she was pregnant with this baby. And then, sometimes as the guru was talking, she would nod off And the baby that was still being formed was so eager to hear the guru, and if the mother slept, it was not hearing the guru. So even though it was ill formed, with its tiny little legs that were like rubber, the bones were not yet formed, it would give the mother, try to kick the mother long before its time was there to kick, and the mother would wake up and listen some more. That's how the story goes. And the other time, and sometimes the teacher would ask a question like, what is this thing called? What is this pot space trying to illustrate? And the mom of Ashtavakra would give the wrong answer. And the baby would cringe. Oh no, you couldn't even understand this much. What's wrong with you? And whenever it cringed, it atrophied like this. So she gave 8 wrong answers. And so, therefore, the story goes the baby was born with this kind of, leading crutches and walker, at birth. And with great difficulty somehow was able to walk, and everybody made fun of him. He never opened his mouth. When he opened his mouth, he such highfalutin Vedanta came out of him that it was unable for people were unable to understand. And then they kept quiet. When he talked, they were all silenced. And this way, all the big rajas and big gurus he defeated in Vada. And one of his famous works is Ashtavakra Gita. What does this signify? This signifies that somebody like Ashtavakra, the very presence of such a teacher, shows that it is possible to disidentify even from a body full of aches and pains and full of distortions. The upadhi is distorted, not that which is as though obtaining in this upadhi. The pot is the upadhi for space, and this body mind sense complex is the upadhi for this chaitanya, this atma, this consciousness, which like space is free, which is everywhere, which is all the time present. It is very easy to laugh at pot space, feeling scared because it is so small and everything else is so big. But are we able to laugh at ourselves when we take ourselves to be as good as this body, as good as the mind, as good as the senses? When that day comes, then Vedanta becomes very easy. Very, very easy. And so Vishwam, no, I'm reading some other verse, which is a nice verse also, but that's not for right now. So here, so Nite Kumbhena Sakam Vrajati Bhajati Va Tat Pramana Anukaro. So Pramana Anukari, the space is very obedient. Anu, it goes along with the size of the pot. And when the pot is taken from one place to another, obediently it follows. Itham mitya pratitihi spurati. Itham, in the same manner, this mithya means this wrong pratiti, this wrong cognition. One meaning, wrong cognition. Simple meaning. Mithya, false, wrong. This wrong cognition, spurati, is born. Second meaning of mithya is what we know, our bread and butter definition of mithya. What is that? That which cannot be categorically ratified as existent, validated as existent, or cannot be dismissed as non-existence. Just like even space, it is there, it is not there. Like this body, it is there, it is not there. It is born, it is gone. So everything is mithya like that because the cause of this body is this Chaitanya Atma, which people don't understand. So taking the body to be real is the cause of sorrow, the cause of all kinds of problems. This is what is the problem. This is mithya because the body is dependent on the 5 elements for its existence. The 5 elements are also not self standing, they are dependent on the Paramatma, on this Chaitanya. So the Chaitanya is dependent on what? The answer is nothing. It is self evident self. So, therefore, the body being dependent on the five elements, the five elements being dependent on Atma, so the body is just a projection, as it were, of the Atma. If the Atma were to withdraw itself, then what body? Oh, but my body, me body. No, you body, no. You are a nobody. That's what. There is no body to speak of. When the Atma withdraws itself, what body? It is thrown on the funeral pyre. It becomes one with the elements. It cannot do anything. It cannot walk, talk. It cannot get worried about how its estate is being divided between its children. It cannot think of anything at all. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so therefore what? So therefore, this is the spoof, all-time spoof. And what is the all-time spoof? Itham mithya pratitihi spurati arises. Where does it arises? Tanubhritam. For all the people that are endowed with a body. Oh, even a cow? Yeah, the cow also thinks I am this much only. That's why when something threatening comes, it tries to gore the person. The cow also makes this mistake. The dog definitely makes this mistake because it's very territorial. It has a big sense of personal space. In India, the whole road belongs to one particular dog. And it's really amazing how this is. And during the pandemic, it was all, they got used to having the whole street for themselves. And now they are even more territorial. So and then of course they spent time in the pandemic multiplying and all this. And then now there are lots of them in every Indian town. And then in Karnataka, very interesting thing happened. There was a case, a man who was mauled by the dogs. He went in on that road. Actually, it should be just a no-brainer. If there is more than one dog on a road, don't go on that road. Take the next road. Simple. But he persisted and went on a road where there were five growling dogs, and then of course he was mauled. He had to have injection, anti-rabies injection, and then after that he took a case against the city government, the municipality, and he took the case to the court, and he said this street dog nuisance has to end, and the city has to round them up in and take them to the pound and kill them off on a regular basis. And then the case went to, from appeals court, everything, it went to the Karnataka Supreme Court. And the court said, what makes you think? This was the ruling handed down by the court. What makes you think that you only have the right to space and the right to live? Every street dog, the street is its home. This was the ruling. Oh, and then this man who had brought the case said that the street dogs not only must be euthanized, and whatever, very bad word for killing, but anyhow, it makes us feel better, I suppose. The street dog must be euthanized, and not only that, they should not, we should prosecute the people who feed the street dogs because they are doing this, they are making, continuing this nuisance. And then the Supreme Court said you should award the people who are feeding the street dogs. And the street dogs are our neighborhood watch. The Supreme Court said, any stranger coming, it is safe. They're doing their job for being fed. And you have no right to take them and put them in some other place. He had also proposed rounding up them in vans and putting them outside on the outskirts of the city, from where they cannot come back. And the Supreme Court ruled That is a cruel practice. How would you feel if we came in a big truck and rounded up you and your family and put you outside outside the city because you yourself are a nuisance, as is evident from this lawsuit. This is how it was. And so now the street dogs in Karnataka cannot be moved. Nobody can take the dog from its place because it is traumatic the dog is traumatized. And then the only thing you are allowed to do as a citizen is to round them up, take them to the vet and get them fixed, get them neutered or spayed, and then bring them back where you are. You can take that responsibility. Other than that, you can't do anything. But then you have to be there till the operation is over, till they have recovered, give them warm milk, feed them, and then bring them back. That's the only thing you can do. It's amazing. So this whole, so why did I get into the story? The idea of personal space of the dogs is the whole entire road. Us and them. It is already there. And if anybody threatening comes, the dog sends an SMS in the form of a low throated growl. And then all the other dogs from the other street converge miraculously, mysteriously, they all come. And then they all surround and start barking. And so therefore, so why did I give this example? Tanu bhritam spurati mithya pratitihi. For the dog, for the cat, for the human being, everybody has this concept that I am as good as this belongs to me, and my space is this much. I am entitled to this space. Vishwatah. Vishwatah means in this whole universe. In this whole universe. The same kind of mithyas pratiti spurati. And what is this mithyas pratiti? This is how big the pot is. This is how big the pot space is. And tadvad atma. So you replace atma with pot space and then see what happens. Then the shoe is on the other foot. Then we'll see who is laughing. And the person that was laughing at the pot example starts crying as soon as you say, this body is mithya, this body is just a appendage. Oh, no, 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 but I don't like my nose. You don't like your nose? No, not at all. I don't like the size. I don't like the shape. I want to get a nose job. I want, what is that word? Aquiline nose. I don't know what that means, but really, there's some kind of a, special nose, special shape of the nose. It has to be straight. It shouldn't be hooked like, as though my last life was that of a parrot. And it should be straight. It should be like this. And then what, You are one person among 7 billion people with this nose, okay? And then you can take that a little further. You are one person living in on this particular town, which is in this particular state, which is in this country, particular country. You look at the whole earth, this blue marble circling round and round. Where is you? Forget where is your nose. Where is you? Where are you? And then you extrapolate a little more, and then what do you get? The earth is part of the solar system. Venus, Mercury, Mars, 3 planets before, so many planets after. Pluto is still in question, but still all these bodies going. And then there is the sun. Where are you? Where is the earth? Oh, there, it's a small little pixel. Then you look at the Milky Way. Go further. Look at the Milky Way. And then try to say, I have a nose problem. It is laughable. you, you don't exist. There is no nose. There is just a gaseous wonder in the form, spread out in the form of wings, sustaining life. There is just Bhagavan. Where is you? Where is your cry? Where is your misidentification? Where is your need for space? All that is just laughable. Tadvat Atma. So therefore, what is the what is the takeaway from here? takeaway is to love up all the body parts. That's all. Love up the mind, love up the body. And then, I always give something like this. Still, people say, I want homework, except in Sanskrit. Then they're all quiet. When I say, do you want homework? Nobody responds. But here, Vedanta, I want homework, I want homework, I want homework. This is the homework, okay? Yeah, ongoing homework. This week, love yourself up, body wise, mind wise, senses wise. Next week, love yourself up. Oh, but it's the same homework. Have you accomplished it? No. Okay, don't talk. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.